Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the next Swedish tank destroyer review, the STRV 103/0, the tier 9 Swedish DD. So after the kinda disappointing letdown that was the tier 8, really campy TD with really shitty DPM, this thing is a bit more of a tank that can actually participate in the game and have fun in it, but obviously it's still limited by the siege mode and all the bullshit that comes with it. But overall, this is definitely a massive improvement over the tier 8, and I enjoyed playing this way more. So one of the main reasons for that is that you get some armor. You get only 40, which means that every Russian tank in the game overmatches your armor. They could have, they wanted to remove overmatch, but instead they could have just buffed the armor on this thing by 1 millimeter. 1 is all they needed, and then like half of the tanks that this tank faces would not be able to auto-pen this. But can't nerf Russia, blitz. Gotta, get fucked. Anyways, what's so weird about this tank is that if you look at the regular model, if you look at the visual model, you see these things here. These look like weak spots, but once again, Wargaming, little indie company, they did not have enough money to actually model in these. Those look like actual legit weak spots, right? Like, look at this. There is shitty angle there. If you shoot right here, it's almost flat, right? It's not just me. It's just, that's what it looks like. But, again, indie company can't afford to model in things like that. And then there's some other weird things about this tank. I have not tested this out because nobody else fucking has this thing pretty much. Well, some people do, but I'm too lazy. Anyways, what's really weird about this, that apparently this is no damage zone, and this is damage zone, and this is damage zone, but that's the fucking front of the track link, so that's really weird. I'm not sure how the fuck that actually works, but maybe I'll do a follow-up video on that. Maybe I'll be less lazy sometimes in the future. And the other thing is that you have these 60 zones that you get the enemies sometimes get unlucky and hit right there, and then you can be a happy panda. About the gun, it is completely fixed in place. This time there's no gun elevation, no depression, so there's no more of this, let's peek over a core, or let's peek over cover with our suspension. You cannot do that anymore. So yeah, there is that. That being said, I'm pretty sure there's everything I needed to say has already been said, so let's get... Also, this tank is fucking massive compared to the tier 8, so that is something to note. People do hit this often. If you are like trying to make a run with your side exposed, you're just gonna get fucked. So there is that. Anyways, let's get into the replay. Alright, so here's the game. Playing on Murvanka tier 10 game. Pretty decent matchmaking for me. There's no Artie, which is obviously great, grand old times. Yeah, as always, let's get into the stats before we do anything else. So here we go. 1500 hit points, 360 meter view range, top speed forwards 50, backwards 45, power to weight 16.35, traverse 40 degrees per second. And when we come to the gun again, it's a pain in the ass to find the real stats for this, but this is the best I could do. So you have 308 penetration, accuracy while in siege 0.3, aiming time 1.2, and then the DPM is kind of conflicting, 2720. I think that is actually out of siege, but I might be wrong, and the difference there is not that massive. So finally you actually get some DPM in this tank, and that is really one of the main reasons why this tank can actually do more than just masturbate on the red line. Obviously having the improved hit point pool also helps, and in general in World of Tanks tier 9 TDs do get quite a bit better than the tier 8 ones. And you can see what kind of difference this kind of improve on reload makes. I mean, you can just feel way more comfortable shooting things because you're not gonna get instantly fucked. Obviously, still the problem is that siege mode is generally terrible. The good news about this tank, though, is that in order to exit siege mode, you don't have to sit there like a retard for 2 seconds. You only need 1.3. Also, using auto-aim in situations like this is very useful, as it traverses your hull for you, especially at this short of a range, and with APCR it works reasonably well. And we're still on the auto-aim there. So yeah, there's the first 2 kills for me. Did manage to get rid of both of those guys rather quickly and didn't lose any health for it, so that is very nice. And now we do spot a lot of wankers in the forest, so I'm actually gonna take a pretty damn risky play here. And I mean, this DD can do it as long as you're not getting shot by anything Russian or anything, you know, 120mm shock, which there's actually, well, apart from the Russians, there isn't that many things. I mean, the German super heavies get a bit bigger guns than 120s, but their DPM is so fucking terrible that you don't really give a shit too much. So yeah, now we're going for this mouse, but the gorilla obviously is way more important here. Luckily for me, he was actually reloading. Luckily for me, somebody actually spotted him. And luckily for me, I tracked him, so that guy is gonna be toasted in a second. And there he goes. And now we have this Yak Tiger issue here. As you can see, the aiming on the gun is pretty damn good. Then again, talking about accuracy, I mean, 0.3 sounds of fucking great, but like, accuracy in World of Tanks is like the biggest lie of all time, so you kind of get fucked a lot with this accuracy as well, and I don't really mean like sniping across the entire map. And you can see the Yak Tiger hit me in the 60 armor zone, is why I still have my hit points. The mouse actually doesn't give a shit about me, which is nice, so I can keep pumping shots in his turret. The 308 penetration definitely lets you do things that you wouldn't be able to do in most other tank destroyers at this tier. Well, it's not like most other, like most tier 9 TDs actually have close to 300 pen as well, which is plenty, but you can kind of feel that a bit extra here that you get with this tank. Regarding camo, this thing still has pretty good camo. This is just a silly shot. I should have shot his lower plate there. I had a clear shot, and this gun is way more than accurate enough to get that shot, and now I'm getting shot on the side as well, which is rather annoying, but we should be able to get away from here without taking another one. But yeah, regarding camo, this is still a sneaky tank, so my equipment choices are still binos, camo net, and rammer, and it works reasonably well. You really do want that binos or the camo neck to save you whenever you do not want to exit siege but still want to shoot people, because obviously this thing can only be really effective when you're completely stationary, and camo neck and binos do not lose their effect whenever you are turning your hull. The second you start driving forwards or backwards, obviously you're not gonna get any bonuses from any of those equipment pieces, but generally you tend to stand still and rank off for the most part in these tank destroyers, so it's actually absolutely fine to pick these equipment pieces. Good lord. The general playstyle on this, however, still remains the bush wanking, blackline sniping wanker, which, you know, I do not really like too much, but this tank can get into that a bit more medium range support role, as the armor can save you, especially when you're against lower tiers. You can actually bully them quite easily, and it's quite funny sometimes when you meet people that are completely unexperienced in shooting at these things, and most people are, because nobody fucking plays these, and yeah, because of that you get people just shooting you in the upper plate and constantly bouncing. And here's the end plate, and I know, it's not an ace, cry every time. You gotta be the luckiest wanker on the planet to ace these tanks on the release. But then again, 4000 XP, we got a high caliber and tank sniper as well. We did 5119 damage, plus we got close to 3k assisted as well, with 1354 base experience, which should be enough for an ace in a month. Easy game, but since I was playing it so close to the release, I got fucked. So the general conclusion of the STRV 103/0 is that it is better than the tier 8, but overall is a pretty mediocre tier 9 tank destroyer. As my stats show, I didn't even manage to average 3k damage per game, which you kind of want to do these days with tier 9 TDs, and that's really what you should be aiming for. So this kind of ended up kind of average, kind of and really the only strong suit about this tank is the gun and the DPM and stuff. So you really kind of want to do a bit more with that. But that being said, this definitely is better than the tier 8 was tier for tier, and it is also better than tanks like the Foch TD. I'd rather play this than the Turtis, even though I'm pretty sure I did even better in the Turtis than this, and obviously things like T95 is just a joke. So there are things worse than the STRV at tier 9, but this is still not a very fun tank destroyer to play. So hope you guys enjoyed this replay cast review thingy majingy, and I'll see you guys with a tier 10 in a couple of days.